Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James Troutner, and I'm a RAP manager for the Bowen Center. Today, we're going to talk about practice management. Effective use of practice management is essential to the overall success of the RSP position. Utilizing your time effectively will enable you to better serve Bowen Center clients and effectively manage your own practice. All right, so as an RSP, understanding the level of need is really important. As you can see up here, illustrated as case management hours and skills training development hours. As an RSP, you'll be focusing primarily on the skills training. Although about 10% of your job will be case management, it's important to focus on the skills training. As you can see here, level of need 3 illustrates 6.25 hours of skills training weekly. We really don't want you to focus on the weekly training. We would like to focus more on the overall package of the 6 months, because we would like to intensify services early on and then gradually transition them out. So for instance, if you work with a level of 3 client, then you could do 10 hours a week, and in a 6-month package, you will not exceed that package. So, and then you also are allowed to work a little bit of the case management as well, as you can see it's illustrated here. However, we really would like the rehabilitation coordinators to focus on case management because that's what their job focuses on. Your job as an RSP is to provide 90% of your duties as skills. As an RSP, consistency is extremely important for effective use of practice management. Scheduling your day and week ahead of time is important, not only for yourself, but for your clients. Travel time should be minimal. The general rule of thumb is if you're traveling, say, out of county or from one city to the next city, your time spent with clients should be 2 times the amount of travel time. So for instance, myself, if I was driving from Plymouth and going to Bremen, and it takes me about a half an hour to get there, I should double that in the time that I'm with the client. Be prepared before your appointments and know what you're going to do. If you go in unprepared, your client will not be prepared to work. Do you have a copy of your IICP? If you do not have a copy, please get one immediately. You need to work directly from your IICP so that way you can better manage your time working with your clients. Tracking your billable hours and your daily mileage will help you tremendously. It's very important that you do this in order to maintain the 90-10 skills ratio that you're required as an RSP. You should have a copy of a daily tracker for your mileage and for your productivity. If you do not have one, please get with your supervisor and they can provide you one off the W drive, or they can help you create one. Another helpful part of practice management is completing your notes in the office before you leave in the morning or in the afternoon before you go home. As we all know with Avatar, RSPs cannot complete notes in the field anymore. So allowing time for yourself to come back to the office at the end of the day can be beneficial, or allowing yourself time to do them at home if you choose to. Every office has office meetings every month. Forecast your office meetings in the beginning of the month, so that way at the end of the month you're not surprised or have to miss the meeting, so that way you can meet with clients and you're not chasing your billable hours. Meetings are mandatory, and we all know when those are, so please make sure you forecast these at the beginning of the month. Remember to make time for your reports that are due at the end of each month. Get with your DCS local liaison. He or she will be able to provide you the dates and times those are due. So knowing that these things are due at the start of the month will allow you to make time at the end of the month for those. Overloading the front of your month is important, so that way you have time to effectively do your reports. It's extremely important that these are done on time, so that way the DCS local liaison can have her stuff or his stuff done and turned in when they're due. Playing catch up is something that is not effective and will not help with the overall successful practice of your practice management. Utilizing time in between clients is important. So if you choose to make phone calls while driving, which is case management, to and from clients, the Bowen Center strongly recommends you have a hands-free device. Keep this to a minimum due to the 90-10 skills ratio that you're required to have as an RSP. So as RSPs, we all know that clients cancel on us. So what should we do if my client cancels their scheduled appointment? Here's some helpful hints. Use this time to assist another client with a higher level of need. We all know our caseloads. We know what clients are available and when they're not available. And if you don't, please get with your clients so that you can get a better understanding of their schedules. Know what clients are available at what times and always have a backup plan. Check with your supervisor for extra opportunities if one of your clients is not available to assist them. Other options that you can do if a client cancels are collaborate with the rehabilitation coordinators, the therapists, teachers, probation officers, doctors, and/or parents. Check to see if the cans or ANSA list in your local office needs to be updated. Always communicate with the RC or the therapist first to make sure that they have already not done this. E-learnings are something that you can also do. However, this must be approved by your supervisor before you do these. Another option that you can do is to go home early. Make it up the next day or during the course of the next week. As part of your practice management, here are a few helpful hints. Be flexible. Help wherever you can. Ask other RSPs if they need assistance. Ask the RCs if they need something done, or speak with the therapist that you're working on with the case. Know what's expected of you as an RSP. What is your daily productivity expectation? If you worked 8 hours, your productivity expectation is 5.2. Understanding this will effectively help you in managing your daily practice. Again, know what your LONs are. Knowing your LONs will effectively help you with managing your overall success of your practice. If I can work with a client 10 hours a week, knowing how many hours I've already worked with them within a 6-month package will help the overall success of the client. Starting your day based upon your schedule is important. Do not work 8 to 5 if you don't have a client scheduled until 11. Double book clients when transporting DCS clients. For example, if I have a client that I'm working with that needs a ride to the doctor's office, I can bring them, work with them while I'm bringing them, and then have another client meet me at the office while that client is in with a doctor or a therapist. If you can schedule back-to-back appointments, that'll also be helpful because then it limits your drive time. For instance, if I'm in Bremen, if I have 2 clients in Bremen, I can schedule them back-to-back, so therefore not driving from Bremen to Plymouth and then back again. This allows you to cut down on your drive time and better effectively manage your daily practice. Building rapport early on while working with clients is also helpful. If you are able to speak freely with parents and guardians, teachers, doctors, etc., this will allow you to be able to build a better rapport with your clients. Let your clients know what you expect from them and what they should expect from you. This will help as you progress in helping your clients. Write your notes when working with clients to save time when you do your note in Avatar. Take exact notes of what you did with your client. For instance, what skill you worked on, what evidence-based practices you utilized. So therefore, when you go back to the office or home to do your note in Avatar, it'll take less time to do your note. So effective use of practice management is something that you will definitely need to utilize as an RSP. Performing these helpful hints that we just suggested and others from your supervisors locally will help you in your overall success. So now that you understand some of the basics of Practice Management 101, it's important to understand how to do intensive services. Identifying clients' ready and willingness to learn the identified skill is important. If we do not know what the client's willingness is, then it's going to be hard for us to be able to perform intensive services. Teach the skill using evidence-based curriculum to the client or the family. As an RSP, if you do not know what evidence-based practices are, get with your supervisors and they can assist you. It is important that we utilize evidence-based practices as rehabilitation service providers. Modeling the skill with role-play situations with a client and family is also helpful. Review real-life situations where the client could have used the skill to prevent negative outcomes. Coach the client on how to use skills in future situations. Examples: when a trigger happens, you can utilize the new skill. Practice this with your families and your clients. Providing controlled triggers for behaviors to work through with clients is also helpful. For example, possibly play a card game with siblings of your client or family members of your client that may trigger something such as anger. Doing so, prompting them to utilize calming skills will effectively help them. Do this repeatedly until the client can do this on their own. Continue to provide praise and rewards when these behaviors happen and the client is successfully able to utilize their calming skills. Continued praise is essential in the recovery for the client. Review this with the client and the family on a continuous basis. This will allow the client to be able to continue to utilize the calming and coping skills that they've just learned. So integrating into the family routine is also important. Let the family function as they would usually, observe, and then interject and help teach the client a new skill or the family a new skill. Doing this intensively in the beginning while working with clients is important. Again, understanding the level of need and doing more intensive services in the beginning of the time that you're with a client will help the overall success for yourself with your practice management and doing the intensive services later with the client and the family. So as you continue to intensify services, at some point you'll need to reduce those hours. So you'll either need to reduce the amount of time you're spending on that one stimulus or that one corrective behavior, or identify a new behavior that you can intensively work on. If you have questions, get with your supervisor and they will gladly help you. Providing intensive services is something that we all will have to do. Understanding the MRO buzzwords, as you guys all received in your initial training, is something that's very important in the skills training process. For instance, aiding clients, assisting clients, coaching clients, Practicing with clients, prompting clients, reinforcing clients are all MRO buzzwords that are very important, especially when documenting services. This is something that we all have to do, and it's very important that you understand these. Please get with your supervisor, and they will provide you with a list of these words to help with your overall success of working with clients and note writing. So understanding the basis of providing intensive services will help you while working with clients. Understanding what a typical home visit is like will also help you. When you first begin working with a client, rapport building for the first 10 to 15 minutes is extremely important. Do not start jumping right into working with the client when you first sit down with them or when you first meet them. This is not something that is good for the client or yourself, because there may be something else that needs to be addressed prior to jumping into today's lesson. Always choose the positive, find common ground, and always keep your cool. Also in the rapport building, expanding your view of what is happening is extremely important. Listen, listen, and listen. Share information. Also utilize the involvement of others if possible. And most importantly, be realistic. Reviewing the last session is also important. Spend about 15 to 23 minutes depending on how long you're spending with the client that day. If you're only with them for an hour, you can limit this to 15 minutes. Ask them questions about the last session. Check for understanding from the last session. How do they feel about the last session? You can also ask them if they thought it was successful, and ask them what they've done to implement those things that you've talked about. Were they able to implement them? Why or why not? These are all questions that you can definitely ask in reviewing the last session. Reviewing your current week or current day is extremely important as well. Spend about 8 to 15 minutes with your client doing this. Again, depending on how long you're spending with the client that day should dictate how long you'll be providing this part of the session. Any specific issues that the client has currently or possibly during that week should be discussed during this time. Problem solving, 15 to 23 minutes. Offer suggestions and brainstorm ideas related to the current issues that either you have with the client or the client may have in general. This is important part of working with the client every time you see them. Problem solving will definitely help the client in their success. Next, the IICP objective of the day is something that you should do with your clients every single time you see them. What goal are they working on today? Or what goals are you suggesting that they work on today? Spend about 8 to 15 minutes with your clients doing this. Review specific goals and make sure to check for understanding. The intervention component of your session is extremely important because this is where you're going to be doing most of your work. You can spend anywhere from 23 to 53 minutes, depending on how long or what goal you're working on. Intervention and treatment modalities must be listed on the current treatment plan, so make sure you have it with you. Closing your session is very important. Do not let your client leave the session without closing. Closing should take anywhere between 8 and 15 minutes. Spend this time reestablishing rapport with your client. Provide for them what possibly could be happening at the next appointment. Remind them of their next, or schedule your next appointment if you haven't already done this. Review the session's content and check for clarification and understanding. And if possible, if you're in the office or have access to a computer, do your documentation with the client. So today we've talked about Practice Management 101, providing intensive services, and how to structure your typical home visit. I'd like to personally thank you for spending some time with me today and for joining the Bowen Center team. We're glad to have you on board.